before I piss myself. No, I want to see a prequel to Game of Thrones when Robert Baratheon was big and strong and smashing dudes with his hammer. I need to see that. I need that in my life.
Damn, I was strong.
The fatalist attitude, but also comedic, doesn't exist in Game of Thrones really at this point. You kind of have Tyrion.
All right, everybody, welcome back to the Cast Beyond the Wall. I'm your host, Caleb Masters, and we are here to review this week's episode of Game of Thrones, High Sparrow. This was a great episode. There was plenty to be talking about, but I want to remind everyone before we hop into this discussion that we're presented by our partners at We Got This Covered. And guys, listen up. Age of Ultron coming out Friday. You know, this Friday. I'm sure some of our Game of Thrones listeners are probably interested in that. Go check out the review at WeGotThisCovered.com. It's going to have an awesome in-depth review of the movie probably before it comes out, so go check it out. And let's go ahead and roll right into the show with introductions. I want to reintroduce my co-host to the Southwest and the Southern Deserts. Sir, introduce yourself.
Austin Lucari.
And my other co-host to the Northwest. Sir, introduce yourself.
Daniel Stahl.
All right, and we are here to delve into High Sparrow. But before we give our thoughts, it was another week of weddings here in Game of Thrones. Another lovely, fascinating week of Game of Thrones, which normally is significantly more eventful and impactful than this episode. But that had me thinking. We've seen red weddings. We've seen purple weddings. They all include dying. And I was thinking, you know, what are some of your favorite weddings, guys? I mean, come on. We've got a lot of epic weddings out in the worlds of fiction. So, Austin, I mean, do you have like a favorite fictional wedding?
Yeah. In fact, it has to be Princess Bride. You have the priest who goes, marriage.
Marriage is what brings us together today. Marriage, that blessed arrangement, that dream within a dream.
That is a great one. It's almost as funny as the is it the Little Mermaid is it Little Mermaid where the Disney movie where the guy has the erect the priest has the erect penis, you know.
Oh, really?
Is it Little Mermaid? It's one of those Disney movies where the guy's performing a marriage. It's funny. You gotta go.
Let me search for Disney boner here.
Well, they'll definitely see the Mermaid Castle and Little Mermaid cover. That one definitely exists. But there's another one I'm thinking of. But while Austin's looking that up,
Little Mermaid.
It is Little Mermaid. Lots of phallic stuff in Little Mermaid there. So.
Oh yeah, he legit has one. Oh, that's like Game of Thrones level of nonsense right there.
It is, and to think no one noticed for the longest time, or at least no one said anything about it. All right. That's a good one. Princess Bride, for my money, always is a great, excellent pick. It's a classic. Daniel, do you have any favorite weddings in the worlds of fiction?
Do we have to go outside of Westeros?
Of course you go outside of Westeros. I mean, if you don't want to, go ahead and pick a Westeros wedding. But if you really, you're allowed, whatever's in fiction, those rules apply.
I was definitely going to go with the purple wedding. I know that most of the weddings that happened in Game of Thrones are pretty terrible, but that one happened to be a good one. And it was very enjoyable to watch Joffrey finally come to his demise.
I mean, Joffrey turning purple was great. My favorite thing was Jaime Lannister sprinting for that cake, though. You know?
Yeah. He really wanted a piece of that cake.
He wanted that cake. If you guys saw the meme out there, it's just Jaime Lannister sprinting, but he's like pushing dudes out of the way. It's one of those GIFs or GIFs or whatever you want to call those things. Moving pictures, GIFs, GIFs, whatever.
You want to go down there and see one of them moving pictures?
I've thought about some weddings out there. And you had the Star Wars Episode 2 wedding. That was a classic, right? Oh wait, no, that was. We're not going to talk about Star Wars prequels today. And then I was thinking, you got Lord of the Rings, and no one gets married, and then bam, Mr. Stahl reminded me, Sam Wise the Brave gets married at the end of the movies, and I was like, we didn't really know her that much though, so not very epic.
It is epic because you were fairly certain Sam really just wanted Frodo.
Oh, but he couldn't have Frodo.
Mr. Frodo.
I got to go with the Godfather. The Michael Corleone wedding over in Italy because, one, just look at that Italian awesome. Look at the scenery, the set, it's beautiful, and it just feels classy all around. It also feels like you get that hint of danger, like, man, bad stuff could happen here because it's got that, it's so Italian, you're like, oh, this has got a mob all over it. But then you also have the epic speech, You come to me on my day at my daughter's wedding. I mean, come on.
That,
However,
that speech takes place in the earlier wedding with Michael's sister.
Ah, crap. You're right. Yes, you get those awesome, just like iconic weddings. And then if we ever do a favorite baptism scene, because there's only one baptism scene ever in the history of movies, we know that's that.
That is the one.
That's the one I'll never forget. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Fun times at the weddings, guys. Fun times at the weddings. I'm sure we all have plenty of weddings to get to this lovely springtime of the year. But I think that's enough of that. Let's go ahead, and before we do a scene-by-scene breakdown here, I just want to get a feel for how you guys felt about this episode. Daniel, what are your thoughts on High Sparrow?
I was very surprised with some of the things that happened in this episode. I was not expecting, for example, Sansa's storyline to go where it went, but I'm really excited about it. And also super nervous about it. So there's a lot of surprises in there for me personally. I liked it a lot, though. I think a lot went on. And yeah, I feel like it was a really good episode.
Yeah, great. Definitely a lot of surprises, to be sure. I mean, that took us all off guard. Austin, do you have anything to piggyback off that with?
Yeah, I mean, this is a monumental episode for Austin. It took characters that I hated and made me like them, and took characters that I liked and made me hate them. So only Game of Thrones can do that in like the span of 50 minutes or whatever. It's insane. But overall, super eventful episode, and really, really excited about where things are going. The weird thing was the one storyline I was most excited about ended up being the lamest storyline.
This is classic Game of Thrones setup, because the ball is rolling fast enough that stuff's starting to happen, but we're still in the early stages. These characters are sowing the seeds that are going to eventually lead to some terrible fate or epic plot twist later in the season. Characters are getting kidnapped, characters decapitating people, lots of eventful things. And you know what? I was talking to Austin about this off air, but I think Game of Thrones is at its strongest. I mean, of course, you have to have those early episodes when you go back and catch up with everyone, say, hey, okay, here's where this character's at, here's where that character's at, and it usually takes a couple episodes. Game of Thrones is at its best when it's doing less storylines that are more focused. You get more storylines with each one. So, for instance, there was no Daenerys follow-up this week, but because we didn't have to worry about that storyline, everything was so much more focused and sharp and on point, and felt like it was a lot more... It had a lot more direction and confidence than I think we saw in the last two episodes. I really have to hand it off to the creators, D.B. Weiss and Dan Benioff. That's all the Sansa stuff they're doing is not booked, and I don't know if it's heading there in the books or not, but if it's, I think what they're doing is the deviation here, if it's not heading this way in the books, is extremely ballsy. Like, because it's new. And it's just as interesting, if not more interesting. I'll say right now, it's more interesting than anything that's happening with Sansa and Littlefinger in the books. They're literally just hanging out around the Eyrie.
They took one of the most major characters in the entire story, and outside of the books, as far as I've been told, put her in one of the most dangerous situations she could possibly be in.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
ballsy.
most definitely.
So...
It's unscripted, so I gotta say hats off to these guys, because this is confidence. Like, it's not just we're kind of changing a few things. We're not synthesizing stories. No, this is all new, and it's ballsy, because it's like, oh, what? This is not George R. Martin territory. So very exciting. I have to say, so far, I think it's a great move. We're finally starting to see the shape of things to come.
You loved your family. Avenge them.
You, who walk in here with a coin you never earned. Who are you?
What do you want from us?
Justice.
You have many enemies in Castle Black.
And you're prepared for the consequences. All men must serve.
We'll go ahead and lead on to the episode, and I want to hear about this storyline that you're least excited about.
This is it. It's not that I'm least excited about it, it's that this... I'm afraid it's just going to drag for a while. Here's the thing. It's Arya's storyline right now. I complained last week that they jumped right into Arya's storyline and didn't let her linger in Bravos long enough. And now I'm complaining that she's lingering too much in the House of Black and White. So maybe I'm just unpleasable. There's just not much happened, right? We got a lot of screen time with her, but really not anything happened. And I'm fine with things not happening, but then don't give me 10 to 15 minutes of her, which is probably exaggerating, but you know what I mean? A lot of time with nothing going on.
Well, there was only one scene that I really felt like was very impactful in Arya's storyline, which is when they forced her to get rid of all of her things. And okay, we'll talk about that in a second. But I do agree with you. It's everything we saw with her didn't really seem like it had much purpose. And I'm not going to be too critical of it because, say, all these weird nonsensical things she's doing now might actually lead to something important later in the season.
I'm sure it will.
But it did. It felt kind of meandery. It's like, okay, well, she's going to hang out. Look at this. I mean, there were some notable moments in here, but I thought the most powerful one was at the end of the storyline where they had her throw away everything. And then it came to getting rid of Neil, which she just couldn't do. And, man, that was a tough scene. It was heart-wrenching because she's literally killing what is left of Arya Stark.
And though, that because she didn't get rid of Needle, she's going to get screwed by that later.
Yep, probably. Yeah,
Rockwind is going to just lay the hammer down on her.
Did
he make her drink poison?
He didn't make her drink poison, so she's still alive there. That's good. Yet. I mean, what was that? Was that what the guy was doing? Was he drinking poison?
I don't know what it was.
Yeah, I do want to point out that the sword needle, if you recall, was given to her by John. Mm-hmm. Which her, I mean, the show, because we haven't got to see much time with them together in the show.
She doesn't know he's alive still.
No, no, she knows he's at the wall. That's, if you remember, before she asked to go to Bravos at the end of last season, she asked to go to the wall, and they say, we're not going to the wall. So I think she knows he's alive, but he doesn't know.
He doesn't know she's alive.
Yeah, he probably thinks she's dead. I think that's important, though, because they actually have a very special connection that's, of course, when you're inside their heads, you find that you learn a lot more about than you get to see in the show because they had so little time together. But, yeah, it means a lot. I'll just put it this way. I mean, it means a lot for her to get rid of that sword because she had a really special connection with John, and obviously she's traveled the road with her, and it's kind of like a piece of, it's like the last bit of Stark she has left, really. And it's kind of gut-wrenching for her to have to get rid of that. I mean, Daniel, what'd you make of that scene?
Yeah, I mean, I think that was the most impactful thing with her storyline for sure this episode. It was tough, and it really just shows like how much their connection, how strong the connection, or at least how much he meant to her. I don't know. I enjoyed her storyline actually this week. I mean, I totally understand I don't feel like she did much, which I understand, but I think that they're setting up for something, and so I actually really enjoyed her storyline this week. But yeah, that moment was tough to see because it just shows that she's having to give up her past, which is weird because what we feel like Arya is the one chance at vengeance, but by her abandoning who she is and becoming quote unquote no one, then she won't be seeking that vengeance. So it's kind of like a catch-22.
That's exactly the point. Is if she's going to survive, she has to let those things go and move on.
Yeah. Well, to get the vengeance she seeks, it's more just. It's not. She's not going to be able to get it out of vengeance for vengeance' sake. It's going to be vengeance out of the sake of justice, right? Because she can't have it.
System.
Yeah. Well, she can't.
Just certain people.
Right. And she can't do that as Arya Stark. And she can't do that because of her own vengeance. Like, it has to be for the greater good. We did get a little hint of the philosophy of the Faceless Men, which I am super fascinated by, because we get, again, in this episode, a lot of conversation to be had about religion in Westeros. But this one, we got to allude to the talk of the many-faced god, the different gods, right? Is it the drowned god, the old gods, the weirwood trees? I mean, who should I pray to? He says, well, we know there's all these gods, but then these other gods are just a face that the one god wears. And who is the one god? Death. I don't know about you guys. That's I find it to be really fascinating take on monotheism and like some sort of weird merging of monotheism and polytheism together in this real kind of thing. Like, okay, really, there's one god, and all these other gods are just different facets of the same being doing the same. They're doing different things, which I don't know. Did you guys? I mean, I don't know if it's fascinating to you as me.
But I think that's a similar concept to the Trinity, basically. There's three and there's one and kind of thing. So.
Yeah, definitely. Or you could be argued. There's also the argument that all the world's religions are showing different facets of one ultimate being up there. Anyway, I wouldn't have to go too deep into theology, but I don't know. I find all that very, very fascinating, and it does play into their philosophy and how Arya has to become. Though she has to sacrifice who she is to the one god. So she basically has to kill herself, like as an individual, to join the ranks of the Faceless Men and hopefully seek true justice. So what I'm saying is she's training with the League of Shadows right now. She's up in the mountain in Japan training with Liam Neeson right now. This is going to be the whole season. Instead of being like a 5-minute montage, we're getting a whole season of that. And then eventually she's going to go back to King's Landing and burn it to the ground.
If you make yourself more than just a man, if you devote yourself to an ideal, and if they can't stop you, then you become something else entirely. Which is? Legend, Mr. Wayne.
She needs to be, I want her to be Bane, not Batman.
Is she going to start talking like this?
Yeah. And she's going to freaking blow up the Red Keep, and it just like sinks into the ground.
She's going to watch, and it's going to blow up behind her though too. Remember, like she's going to be walking away. She'll be like
Ward just running away from the place.
She's going to talk, and she's going to talk like this. She's going to be like, "Well, Cersei, you killed my father with a sword." This is a big development season for her. I don't think there's going to be a lot of action, but I do think her character is going to develop through these sorts of weird tests and stuff like that, more than there's actually going to be like action-packed events coming out of it. Right, let's go ahead and move on to King's Landing. And guys, it was a beautiful day for a white wedding. It was actually white. It wasn't like there was no blood, there was no wine. It was just a wedding.
White wedding.
Thank you. Now, granted, there wasn't really as much build up to this, but didn't you think it was a little anticlimactic? It was like, hey, wedding, hey, sex, done. Instantly, like that. As opposed to, you know, Joffrey's wedding, which really had 2 seasons of a season and a half of build up.
It was kind of shocking. I mean, the whole episode just kind of started with it, and it was over. That was it. It was kind of crazy. But I don't know. There wasn't a whole lot to talk about from a wedding perspective. You didn't get to see much. What was more interesting was
post-wedding, right?
How Marjorie's attitude just freaking took over immediately.
Wasn't it great?
Full Cersei. It was great.
It was so great. But she's like a nicer version of Cersei. Like people actually like her. Big difference.
Well, I think she's less likable at this point. I actually prefer Cersei over her. I want to see how she responds.
Whoa.
Look, if this ends up in a mud pit fight, I think I'm okay with that.
I think okay.
They need to do like an Oberyn Mountain fight just between them two.
Wouldn't that be epic? Well, so they have to. They'll do trial by combat, except for they won't have champions. They'll just beat the crap out of each other in a mud pit.
Yeah.
There you go.
Wait, Cersei just has like a broken wine glass for a weapon, and Marjorie has, I don't know, a bunch of thorns from roses.
She has like thorns tied to her, strapped to her fist. Yep. Right, like iron knuckles. Yeah, like brass knuckles, except with thorns. Okay, she definitely took over. I loved how it went straight to them having consummation, which was a big deal because we really haven't seen a consummated marriage on this show so far. It always ends up red wedding. You don't get to see that consummation happen. Purple wedding, obviously dead. Even Sansa Tyrion wedding, no consummation there because they didn't consummate. So it was like, hey, guys, this really happened, and Marjorie's really doing it. She's totally taking over. She's a snake. Such a snake, being like, oh, I love your mother. What is she going to do now? Yada, yada. You know, Tommen's getting sexed up by Marjorie. So, I mean, can you blame him? He's like, oh, dude, he literally said, I would do this every day for the rest. Yeah.
He's like 12.
I actually was watching this with someone who doesn't watch Game of Thrones. They popped in to watch it. And he's like, how old is that kid? There's no way he's like, I'm like, oh, we'll just say he's 16. We'll go with 16.
How old is he in the books? He's got to be.
He's only like 12, but they don't consummate in the books, at least not that I'm aware of.
Oh.
Like, I don't even know if they're actually
married.
I don't think they're even married. And if they are, it's literally like he's promised to her. She's promised to him. There's no doubt about that. But I don't think there's actually consummation there. And then of course there's also that little talk that Marjorie and Cersei had with each other. You know, when Cersei went to approach her and Marjorie was talking to other girls.
It's a stupid move by Marjorie. She's playing this the wrong way.
She's getting a little cocky, admittedly.
Yeah, and Cersei she's freaking crazy, man. You don't want to mess with her.
She's gonna lash out.
She doesn't care. The thing is, she doesn't care about collateral damage. She does not give a crap.
Oh no.
She will take you down, and she'll burn the whole place with her. Like
she's literally said, literally her words is, when you threaten her children, she'll burn the whole city to the ground. This is just boiling. This the rivalry is cooking in the oven, and it's gonna explode. It's just bubbling right now. When it happens, I don't know, but this is the early stage they're saying of them. They're gonna start to play these sneaky power plays, obviously, and even. She even gets Tommen to ask. Cersei, hey, so when are you going home again? I thought you'd be a lot happier at Casterly Rock, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, come on. He's totally falling for it. So hardcore, it's not even funny.
Tommen, I think he's kind of innocent. I think But Cersei responds in a strange way, and I'm not sure where this is going yet, when she goes to the Sparrows.
Yep.
And I don't know what she wants to do or how she intends to use them, but I think she recognizes that they're a group within King's Landing now that is starting to gain some traction and maybe a little bit of power. I don't know if she's going to use them to accuse Margaery. I imagine she's going to raise them up, give them authority, and then use them to tear down Margaery through some sort of accusation.
Okay.
It'll be interesting.
That makes sense. Yeah, let's talk about the Sparrows. So we got reintroduced to the Sparrows as a group. I mean, obviously we got the mention in the first episode, but here we got full-on Sparrow introduction, which was, there's this crazy, religious group. They're now pulling corrupt people. I mean, obviously the people they're accusing are pretty corrupt. I mean, it was the Lord of the High Septons who was in Littlefinger's brothel having sex with all sorts of weird, I don't even know what was going on there. The many-faced gods. That was messed up. I don't know what's going on there. They kind of made him do this little walk of shame, and they were accusing him and calling him a sinner and yada. He wants Cersei to have him arrested and beheaded because he's, wrecking the capital. But as you so stated, she goes to the High Sparrow, and they just kind of have a chat. And obviously hasn't gone anywhere yet, but she's looking a lot more like a hey, I can work with this guy somehow.
She is sowing the seeds of ruin.
She is. Yeah. So Jonathan Pryce, as the High Sparrow, most people would recognize him as Elizabeth Swann's dad from Pirates of the Caribbean. He was also a bad guy in a Bond movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, he's great actor they got here. And don't you? I love how the portrayal is. He's just really down to earth guy. He doesn't really seem to. Honestly, he doesn't really seem that fired up by, he's just some dude hanging out. I mean, he's got all these religious zealots. He's says something and people go out and be all zealots, be kind of crazy about it, right? At least that's what I took from it. He didn't seem very crazy. He just seemed like a down-to-earth guy, but then he has all these religious zealots that take everything he said to the extreme, and you're like, okay, all right.
I mean, it was an interesting conversation. I think I can't tell whether or not he is evil. It's so hard to tell this early on. I think he has noble intentions, and he just wants to help people, but he's going to get used. I don't think he's smart enough to play the game, and I think he's going to be a little bit dazzled by whatever power he might receive. She is going to try to raise him up, much like she did Qyburn, and eventually use him against everyone else. It's someone else she can control.
Right.
She hopes.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's a good thought.
Unless she gives them power and they turn on her. That will be when it gets interesting.
You kind of wonder if she's not going to try to use this accuser thing to twist that against Margaery somehow, because of course she's consistently commented about how, Margaery sleeps around and is a, what would she call her? Oh gosh, all sorts of names, but whore from Highgarden, stuff like that. So I don't know, might be able to use that to her advantage somehow. While Margaery, of course, being the queen. But we'll see.
This guy seems to very much believe what he believes strongly. Even as she came up there, she kind of said a couple different things, and seemed like he was pretty firm in where he stood on, at least in his religious beliefs. So it'll just be interesting to see if Cersei tries to push on that at all, and what his response may be to that. Because even when she came up there, he was kind of she said, "Oh, you're the High Sparrow." He's like, "Is that the name they give me?" He doesn't matter if people want him to be in that power. He doesn't believe that that's what his role is. He doesn't want to be looked at as this person that's not equal to everyone else. He seemed to strongly believe that everyone is equal, and so I don't know. I think it'll just be interesting to see how, if Cersei tries to use them, how he'll respond to that.
I don't know if this is an apt comparison, but I was thinking this dude, his attitude is kind of like Jacob from Lost. He's just some dude, doesn't really care. He's just like, oh, I'm here to serve. I'm here to serve the peasants, and I have my ideas about things. And then he's got this crazy religious group of zealots. So he's got his own ideas on things, and they just take what he says and go extreme with it. And he's like, oh, I mean, if that's what you want to do, guys, it's cool. He just chill, lay back.
That guy knows exactly what he's doing, though.
You think so?
He pretends that I'm just another guy. That's not really what he thinks. I think it's all part of a big power play, just like everyone else in this freaking series. They might play it off and do all that, but he knows exactly what he's doing.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, that may make sense. We'll see what happens. Obviously, hence the title High Sparrow. They're going to be a big role later in the season, and I think we got an introduction. It'll be very interesting to see. But I think, Austin, you're right. I think they're going to be very, very key in the power play between Margaery and Cersei. One other thing I want to note about before we wrap up King's Landing is that Marjorie wants to call Littlefinger back in. She wants to send a raven to Peter Baelish.
No, not Marjorie.
Sorry. Cersei wants to send a raven to Peter Baelish for undisclosed reasons at this point, but obviously with the religious group attacking his brothel, I'm assuming it's probably got something to do with that. And I don't know, I could be wrong, but that's kind of got my feeling. Either way, though, what I found more interesting is that she has Qyburn write it, and we got a little tease. What Dr. Frankenstein's cooking up down there. Okay?
Do you want to know why she wants Peter Baelish?
Why?
Because they are still in cahoots after killing Joffrey. It's going to be revealed this season that she was in on it.
That she was in on it to kill Joffrey. Even though he remarked in the episode how he was pretty much done with the Lannisters.
This is...
Oh my gosh.
Littlefinger has said a lot of things, okay?
Well, that's true.
That's true. So, he's so good at his job that Cersei thinks she was the one to tell him to kill Joffrey when it was really Marjorie who told him to kill Joffrey.
Everyone was telling him to kill Joffrey. He was taking money from all the people.
Well, he would do that, actually, if that were the case. But honestly, Austin, I'm sorry. I don't think Cersei killed Joffrey. I think we're past that. What'd you think of the body? The big shake in the body, under the blanket?
Just another dude.
Oh, yeah, that was weird. I don't know what that was. I kind of looked at the scene. I was like, "There's someone over there. I know it. Like, no, that's what
it moved.
And then he moved. Yeah. I don't know. That was weird. I don't know what's going on with that. That could be. I don't know.
Remember, Gregor Clegane technically not dead. Last seen on that guy's table. So.
Oh, that's true. Did he splice a dwarf head onto him?
He's gonna have 3 heads. It's going to be a super soldier. I mean, I don't know exactly what. He probably wouldn't put heads on there, but I don't know what he's doing.
He is straight up going to experiment on it. That's nuts.
Isn't that creepy? Like, seriously, this is crazy.
I'm a little excited. Maybe he's the ultimate tool against the White Walkers.
The White Walkers, they bring up like a Terminator. The Qyburn raises a Terminator Frankenstein combo to mow down the White Walkers. There's no dragons.
He rides a dragon.
He throws Daenerys off the dragon, rides it himself. That's what's going down.
Right.
Okay. All right. I'm in for that. Dragon riding by Robo Gregor Clegane.
He wears Daenerys' skin as armor to keep him protected from flames.
Go Robo Mountain. That's what's going to happen. On the note of Littlefinger, though, let's go ahead and move on to Winterfell. First off, we get a little tease with Ramsay and Roose kind of having some father-son time in there. Back in Winterfell, our first time back in Winterfell since the Boltons took it.
Is that Winterfell? I thought it was Moat Cailin.
No, they're in Winterfell. They go no, they're definitely in Winterfell.
But hold on, I gotta ask this because when Sansa shows up, she says that's Moat Cailin.
They ride through Moat Cailin to get to Winterfell. Did you not see that the road went right through?
Yeah, I guess I missed that. I just assumed when they saw Moat Cailin, and then the next scene was the Boltons were all there.
Yeah, but look I guess it could be wrong. I look at the sets. Like the sets all look like they were right out of Winterfell.
I don't disagree with you.
Okay. I mean, maybe I'm wrong. They could have been using some of the same sets. We've only been in Moat Cailin once, and it was kind of under weird circumstances. So I mean, I could be totally wrong. They definitely went to Moat Cailin, but it looked to me like they went like they rode through it and went straight to Winterfell. But maybe I totally misread that scene. But either way, so Ramsay Roose having some father-son time. Ramsay, of course, being himself, flaying people for no reason. And Roose is like, oh, that's probably not a good idea. You want to have an army that's not going to, revolt and kill you. I just think Roose Bolton's such a freaking idiot for naming him Warden of the North. I mean, okay. Ugh. Anyway, what we found out was that Littlefinger had promised Sansa Stark to marry Ramsay Bolton. Holy crap.
Who did you think... Maybe it's just me. When he said, you need to get married, and I found you a wife, who did you think it was?
I thought he was going to marry Walder Frey. They'd already hinted that was going to be it.
For some reason, I thought this is where the Greyjoys came back.
Oh my gosh.
That's what I was like, he's going to marry Theon's sister. That's going to be nuts.
She would kill him. She tried. They just had a fight last season.
Look, couples fight all the time. It's
okay.
No big deal.
It'd be an abusive relationship anyway. That's cool. She'd try to kill him. He'd try to kill her. Classic Game of Thrones. Good marriage. Now, I just thought, holy crap, this is shocking. Like, really Yeah, I did not expect the storyline to take this route here with Sansa marrying Ramsay, getting married. So she was promised to Joffrey at one point. Now is promised to debatably a crazier, more what's the word I'm looking for? He's a
sociopath.
Yeah, more of a sociopath than even Joffrey, right? Sadistic. He's arguably more sadistic than Joffrey. And the questions I have, I mean, like, how is this going to work? Does that mean that they're going to reveal, the Boltons are going to come out and reveal that Sansa Stark's alive so they can rally people around their cause?
Well, they have to. Otherwise, what's the point of having her? I think what happens, they get married, Sansa's life is a little bit miserable, and especially because of all of Ramsay's little girlfriends, who clearly were very unhappy with this situation.
Yeah.
But then, as soon as the North knows that a Stark is still alive, they all revolt against the Boltons.
That's a good possibility. And I want to know what's it going to do in King's Landing. That's going to piss off. I mean, that's going to piss off Cersei and the Lannisters. But Littlefinger also, Baelish raised the point. Well, they don't. Without Tywin, who are they? And he raises a good point there. But it's still like, whoa, that's going to. You would think that'd be a big deal, right? It would offset like all the promises and everything because technically she's still wed.
Who's going to do anything about it? Tywin's not there. Cersei's too busy fighting with Marjorie. Tommen is.
He doesn't care.
Child.
Yeah.
Might is Tywin's brother.
Oh, Kevin? Yeah, Kevin could say something. Yeah, and he actually's got balls to say something. I mean, and I was thinking, well, the Tyrells would have to be the ones to speak up, really, because they're the ones in power, but they're not going to care because they have an alliance with Littlefinger. Yeah, I'm surprising turn of events. I didn't expect this, and I think Sansa's going to be safe. Relatively speaking, I'm actually more worried about crazy psycho ex-girlfriends than I am Ramsay. Ramsay's going to be weird. I feel like Ramsay's going to be weird and not know how to treat her. He's crazy, but I think he also wants to some extent, he wants to please his father. So I think he's going to try and treat her right.
You think Sansa's going to be safe? You sweet, sweet summer child.
Relatively.
Have you learned nothing from the Stark family?
That's true. I don't think he puts her somewhere he does not believe she's safe, and I think he's got another angle at this too. Now,
if you think Littlefinger is a flawless person,
oh no, he's not. He's evil. And then what he's doing to her on an emotional level is truly, truly despicable, and forcing her to further compromise herself. He's convincing her to play the long game like he does for the sake of revenge. Which she did fall for it. I mean, he laid it out there, and she took the bite. So, I mean, he did give her a choice too. I think, though, here's what I think is going down, and bear with me. And of course, Littlefinger's an opportunist. I think he's placing Sansa Stark in the north because I think he knows Stannis is at the wall.
Sure.
And Sansa liking him is going to put him in a great position if Stannis were to retake the north, right? Make him because she's going to be the new face of the North, you would think, and then he's got. I don't know. I think it gives him leverage on either way this falls, right? Because if it falls in the case of the camp where Stannis fails, okay, well he's already got this option with Sansa and Roose Bolton worked out.
He already had that. He's the person who killed Joffrey. He just discloses that, and Stannis will be like, "Oh, you're looking out for me. You got rid of that false king."
Right. Well, and he's also got the Tyrells backing him though too, right? So if it doesn't work out, he's got them. You know what I mean? Like he's got himself in a very interesting position. And I think to some extent he cares about Sansa, so that's why I don't think he's going to put her in a place that he believes she's in true danger.
You think Sansa likes Stannis though? Because Stannis doesn't like the Starks.
No, Stannis does like the Starks.
Why would he kill Robb Stark? Or why would he?
Oh, he doesn't like Robb Stark. He doesn't blame, but obviously he has a lot of respect for Jon, and he respected Ned for backing his claim.
Put a curse against Robb.
He put a curse against Robb Stark. I don't think he put it against the entire Stark clan. I don't think he hates Robb. And obviously he sees the value in having a Stark in Winterfell, clearly. So all I'm saying is Littlefinger's put himself in a very excellent strategic position. And I did think it was kind of funny that Roose Bolton called him on it. People don't call Littlefinger very often, but Roose Bolton called him. I thought it was kind of cool.
I don't know what Littlefinger is really honestly planning on doing. I don't know what his end game is with this one. I'm a little bit confused by it. I just don't know what he's hoping to achieve. I'm really confused by his move. I'm not necessarily saying it's a bad one, but I don't really know how it's a great one either, if that makes sense.
I think ultimately what he's after is he knows that Sansa being a Stark and being in the North, that she will eventually gain a lot of power because the Starks are extremely respected. And Sansa is also someone he can control. He cannot control Roose Bolton. He can't control Ramsay at all. So he's putting a pawn in a giant region so he can control that entire region.
Yeah, but I don't know if he will be
survive.
able. I don't know if he will be able to do that though with her. I don't know if he'll actually be able to achieve that goal with her.
I think he controls her. Yeah. No, I
controls her. Yes, but I don't know if he can. I don't know if she will have a great enough impact.
Well,
not yet. I'm saying it depends on how things go.
It's exactly what Caleb was saying. When Stannis comes rolling through the north, the Boltons will be gone, but Sansa will still be there, and will essentially rule the entire north on her own. No one Stannis can marry off to her. I don't know how that would end up working out, but the Boltons will be gone by the time Stannis comes around, and at that point, Sansa's alone, and Baelish can still control her.
It's a win-win for him, honestly. It's pretty genius. And depending on how he plays his cards with her, he can still keep good terms with her, too. So excited to see where this goes. I have no clue.
I text Caleb after I watched this. I'm like, I really, really hate Littlefinger. He's the worst person ever. And I was starting to warm up to him. I liked him. And now, I'm done.
Yeah, you're like,
Littlefinger.
You're like, oh, he threw Crazy Girl out the window.
I hope he gets turned into a White Walker.
White Walker. What he's doing, Austin, though, I think ultimately, though, I think he's still keeping Sansa. I don't think Sansa's in as dangerous a spot as you think you are. It's purely out of strategy, and he knows that, and that's why she's there. Because if something does happen to her, if Ramsay does, Ramsay's not gonna let anything happen to her because Roose is there. As long as Roose is alive, I think Sansa's safe.
Ramsay's unstable. He's unpredictable by nature.
That's true.
That's why he's dangerous.
That's true.
Yeah.
And your point, Littlefinger even points out, I haven't heard much about you.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, but they did have that conversation about Roose had said something like, it's a gamble, and Littlefinger kind of openly admits, like, yeah, it is a gamble, but that's part of how you move forward. Is you got to take this is a risk it's worth taking.
Well, and he said, did you not take a gamble when you backed Tywin Lannister and instead of Robb Stark? I think this whole strategy is just blowing my mind. It's awesome.
But
here's also there is also something else that could throw this off big time.
Yep, and here it is. There's someone protecting Sansa right now.
Yeah, she doesn't know it yet. She doesn't know it yet, but someone's watching out for her, like a guardian angel that I don't really care much about.
I was so bored with her storyline. We're talking about Brienne.
Brienne, yes, she was who is stalking her.
I was so bored of her storyline up until this point, and now I'm like, I care again. This is fantastic. I hope she goes in there and hope she chops off Ramsay Bolton's head, and it's going to be amazing.
Dude, a Ramsay Brienne fight would be pretty epic. I'd pay to see that. Oh man, that would be awesome. Yeah. I could see it going that way. But then
I'm calling it now. Brienne kills Theon.
Oh, and then there's Theon. We didn't even talk about the fact that Theon's there. What the heck's he gonna do? Talk about
He didn't even say it.
He didn't say anything. He just hung out there.
He's in the dirt. He doesn't do anything.
I talk about unstable though. I think he's an unstable guy yet. I think if we just keep getting these shots of him, he's gonna do something unpredictable, and it's gonna screw everything up. I don't know what it is, but he's gonna do something weird.
You think he's gonna save? Maybe he tries to save Sansa. Maybe it clicks back in his head while Ramsay is doing something horrible to Sansa, and he snaps and kills him. Oh, that'd be so nice.
That would be great. It'd be a little bit of redemption. It'd be a little bit more redemption for.
They both die as a result.
Well, yeah. Of course.
Theon's last redeeming moment.
But don't you feel like they're
so un Game of Thrones like?
Don't you think though that again, this is Game of Thrones, so they loving to surprise. But don't you feel like he should do something a little more important than just that? Like for him hanging around as long as he has. I don't know.
Maybe so. I don't think you can rehab him at this point.
Rehab? Well,
He's
it's
never
true.
Gonna be what he was.
Oh no. He can never go back to what he was, but he could maybe do. I don't know. Gain enough cognitive ability to do something nice. But
I think he'll have one last shining moment before he's killed. I think.
Right. Well, Brienne has a lot of hope there. We did get a nice little monologue her about how she is still bitter about being eternally friend zoned by the gay guy. But it was a meaning a little. I mean, you can feel kind of bad for her because she loved the dude who she clearly knew she had absolutely no shot with ever. That's that's literally, you're subjecting yourself to friend zone for an eternity, woman. What are you doing? But I don't know. When you feel that way about someone, I guess you do stupid stuff. like friend zoning herself for 20 years or whatever it was. It looks like she's still like everyone else, though. She's being driven by vengeance. She really wants to kill Stannis still. So there's that. All right, but let's go ahead and move on to the wall, where there was also some really interesting, and I don't know, exciting goings on there. We got to see Jon and Stannis kind of have another kind of talk here, where Jon basically lays down and he says, "Hey, I've decided I'm going to stay Lord Commander. You know, be Lord Commander of the Wall. You know, I'm sorry. I respect what you're doing. I'm glad for the offer, but my place is here." And he's got Ollie there. He's got him. He's going to teach him the ways. Right, which is kind of funny because Ollie killed the woman he loved. Ouch. But hey, that's it. He's moved on. He's gonna raise him up. But I thought it was again a nice, respectable exchange between Jon and Stannis. I really do. I am Stannis is not warming up to me because I don't like him. But I feel like all the moves he's trying to make up here are actually respectable for the most part. I mean, other than Burning Man's
smart moves. I don't have to like him, but he's not stupid.
Right. All right. No, that's what I'm saying. It's like it's more respectable, and you know, it was cool to see. We did get Davos actually did something. He tried really hard to win Jon over again, and I thought it was a cool scene between him and Jon, just saying, "Hey, listen, I mean, this guy's your best hope." Again, just a nice moment to remind us why we love Davos. He's slavishly loyal to this guy who's probably not worth it, but you're like, man, that's respectable, right? And it had a pretty compelling argument, even if Jon didn't bite. I have to say,
it was a stretch at best.
At best, huh? Really?
I don't think it was compelling at all.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess I disagree.
Like, the way he twisted the oath or whatever. Nah, that was dumb.
Listen, man, Sam's twisted the oath. Davos is doing it again.
Sam's was better. Honestly, it was far more.
Whoa!
His was for sex, though. But
Sam doing something a little bit better than somebody else.
Sam did something better.
You know what? Let's cut that. We're not going to talk.
No, that goes in the show. That goes in the show. Austin is warming up to Sam.
That was
slightly.
Never said.
That was said. It was on air. I heard it right here. All right. So, and honestly, I think it has to come down to because Sam was doing it for sex, but that's beside the point.
You know what? That's the most noble of reasons, I think.
For sex, why not? Sure. These days, why not? 21st century, man. Okay, now I thought it was a fun little quote here. Jon's like, he's like, I think I'm gonna keep. He's like, I think I'm gonna keep Thorne kind of in my good graces, and he's like, it's best to keep your enemies close. And then Stannis is just like, whoever said that clearly didn't have very many enemies, which I thought was kind of hilarious, especially given what happened. Especially given what happened to Robb. So I don't know. But then
I gained respect for Stannis throughout all of this. Like he was reasonable.
As well.
He seeked out his best interests, but at the same time wasn't like overly harsh on people who didn't agree with him. I liked it. It was good. Now, we didn't just see Melisandre, and who knows what that crazy bitch is going to do.
Oh, good night. She's probably brainwashing other Night's Watch, because Night's Watch people, no offense to them.
What if she converts the entire free folk?
Ooh, now that would be dangerous. I don't see that happening, but if that happened, she would be crazy powerful. And she'd have and Stannis would still have his army. The biggest scene from this episode was when Jon's making the assignments, and he gives... Alistair's door, and he says, "Hey, listen, you've done awesome work for us here at the Wall. Here is you're going to be the lead ranger,
first ranger.
You're basically the commanding ranger, or whatever." And that's great. And then he's like, "All right, and Janos, because you're a little punk over there, and you're disrespectful, and you suck. You're going to go down and defend this one place way away, so you can be useful." And Janos doesn't take it so well, you could say.
Janos lost his crap.
Lord Janos, I'm giving you command of Greyguard.
Greyguard is a ruin.
Yes, the fort is in a sorry state. Restore it as best you can. First build a Yarwick can spare 10 of his...
I was charged with the defense of King's Landing when you were soiling your swaddling clothes. Keep your ruin.
All right. It's enough of that.
You mistake me, my lord. That was a command, not an offer. Pack your arms and armor, say your farewells, and ride for Greyguard.
I will not go meekly off to freeze and die. Give it to one of the fools who cast a stone for you. I will not have it. Did you hear me, boy? I will not have it.
Are you refusing to obey my order?
You can stick your order up your bastard ass.
Take Lord Janice outside. Ollie, bring me my sword.
He just should have known when to stop, man. It was all about knowing when to stop. Okay, mouth off. Okay, we get that. That's stupid, but whatever. But he kept going even after John called him on it. He's like, "Are you directly disregarding my order?" Yeah, and then he says to go shove his order up. I was like,
God,
so stupid.
This is one of the most badass scenes in the entire freaking series. It was so good.
It was so good.
So here's how it goes down. It is freaking phenomenal and genius, and I loved it. You have Jon Snow. He looks Alistair Thorne in the eye. He says, "I'm going to reward you because you're awesome, and you should like me because I rewarded you. But to ensure that you don't backstab me now that I do this, I'm going to kill your friend." So they drag Janos Slynt out of the castle, out to be executed, and Jon Snow's sitting there by himself. He's sitting there. He says, "Ollie, go get my sword." And he's sitting there. The whole freaking room is empty. They're all outside holding Janos down. He downs his drink. He's like, "All right, time to get to business." Walks outside.
That's exactly what I thought too. Yeah.
Janos pees himself, man. He's like, I can't do this. I was scared. I'm sorry. Please, I'm sorry. I told you to go fuck yourself. Please, don't kill me. Don't kill me. Slice. Dead. And then that sends a message to Alistair. He says, "Look, I rewarded you, but I will kill you if you betray me, or if you even say anything against me. You'll be dead." And that is exactly what he needed to do. It was genius. Rather than punish Alistair or any of that stuff from the start, he rewards him, says, "Hey, you've been great. I'm going to give you this." But it also sent a message to him. It's like, but if things change, I don't need you anymore.
I read the scene a little differently than you, although I did love my favorite moment of that whole spiel you went out there was definitely when he's like, "All right, go grab my sword," and he's just chilling there by everyone else is in the engine room and by himself, just sitting there and he finishes drinking and sets it down and goes I'm like, "Oh, Daddy's going to work. Daddy's going to work." But at the same time, I think this scene actually harkens back to two scenes. Now, again, I think it's an interesting parallel because if you remember in season 2 when Theon cuts off the head of is it Roderick? Is that Roderick? Sounds right. And the music starts playing. It's rainy, and it's go back and listen to the music cues too because they play the same music cue for all three of these. Theon does it, although he isn't anyways awesome and fails to actually cut the dude's head off on the first swing, and then Rob did the same thing with Karstark. Same music cue, this really dark, heavy, almost like this. It's not. It's like sad. These people are having to do something, and then they play the same cue with John. And while I thought this scene was pretty great, I do want to point out those two people, same music cue, same type of thing, both died. Or Theon, they both pretty much died.
This had a greater purpose than Karstark. Karstark, he had to kill him as punishment, to send a message. That happened, but there was also an additional layer of sending a very particular message to Alistair Thorne. And basically saying, "I've rewarded you because you've been awesome, but things can change, and I'm not afraid to kill people." It was different than trying to send a message to an entire kingdom. I think that's kind of a futile effort. But because he was trying to send it to a specific person, I think it was more effective than what Cobb did.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. And I honestly am not exactly sure how this is playing out. But my other sentiment would be, what if Alistair does speak up and says, "Hey," or, goes behind his back. He doesn't outright about it. But he's like, "Hey, listen, John over there, he just killed one of us. He's not killing the wildlings. He's killing one of us." I don't know. This really could go a lot of different ways, and I'm not really quite sure exactly how it's going to play out. But I don't know. I think Austin. I love this scene. I think it's a great scene. Then even at the very end when it's all done, John looks over and he sees Stannis give him the nod. That was pretty awesome, dude. Nod. Just the approval.
He gave him the Ollie nod.
Yeah, the Ollie nod. Yeah, exactly.
What Austin said is true, that it does kind of send a little message to Alistair that he's not going to be afraid to punish people that aren't going to follow his commands, and it starts establishing that that he is the Lord Commander and that this is the person that they follow now. And if you're not going to work with him, then there's punishment for that. And then I think part of it too is Stannis really seems to like him, and I think even this scene again, Stannis just grew even more affection for him. And I don't know if that's their relationship's gonna be going somewhere, but I think that the fact that they showed them having looking at each other after it happened was significant as well. Just them recognizing that they both think that this was the right decision. And I don't know, but I thought it was a good decision by Jon. And
I mean, I think it sent a message, and again, defining what kind of leader he's going to be. Again, very interesting parallels between him and Daenerys. Again, both having to make these hard calls. Although his was, I think, was a little easier to make. But interesting. 2 beheadings, 2 episodes in a row.
Yeah, well, I thought his was more of the right decision, and then hers was more of the wrong decision.
I think what they're having to do here is for both of them, though, is defining their leadership. Here's how
how they want to be a leader.
And Jon Snow is so much freaking Eddard Stark, it's not even funny. I mean, he just is. He's the true son of. He's gonna be the son of Ned Stark that has a shot to make it out of all of this. Hopefully,
he is more willing, and he has the whole honor thing. And Stannis had a great point of that got your father killed. That's totally true. But Jon has showed the ability in the past to bend his morals.
Oh yes,
in order for the greater good, which Ned did not have.
Right.
He is Ned Stark with common sense.
Yeah. Well, he's got common sense, and he definitely doesn't see the world as black and white. He sees the complexities of everything that's going on at the wall. At least
I'm going to work with the wildlings because I'm going to turn on them eventually. Ned would never have done that.
Right.
Never in a million years.
Well, he knows if he doesn't. He knows if they don't fight for him, he's fighting against them, which ultimately for him, he knows the White Walkers and Winter are coming, which that's the real threat. He gets that. He gets and ultimately that's more important than anything going on with the squabbles and the rest of the Seven Kingdoms.
How many wildlings do you think they have prisoner right now?
I don't even know.
It's got to be a lot, right?
Yeah, you'd think. I mean, if they all followed him in to Mance's execution.
If Stannis leaves and the wildlings are still there, they could literally just get up and overrun Castle Black at this point. They have no way to stop them. Why are they on that side of the wall? They need to be north of the wall still. Just open up a prisoner camp on that side.
Maybe he's not planning on keeping them prisoner for long.
Maybe. I don't know. I'm very scared of that situation. If Stannis leaves, there is no way they can stop them from running.
There's going to be some interesting... Yeah, it's going to be a problem that they're going to have to deal with very, very soon. Because you're right, once Stannis leaves...
They haven't really addressed how they're keeping them locked up.
No.
If there's 100,000 people there, let's say half of the wildlings died in the fight.
Uh-huh.
Let's say there's still 50,000. That's a lot more than the 150.
Oh, yeah. There's
watches there.
Not even close. Now, I'm very excited to see where we're heading towards the wall. It's a great storyline, and a lot of question marks there. And I'm excited to see Jon Snow do his thing because it's exciting. He's there were definitely some seasons where his character kind of we could say stumbled a little bit, but he's really coming to his own the last 2 years, I think, and it's exciting stuff.
Yeah, this is his time to shine.
Yeah, his time to shine. Hopefully he rises to the occasion only further.
I love him so much at this point.
That was a pretty awesome scene.
I didn't before. Now he's gotten awesome.
Dude, back in season 1 and 2, people did not like Jon Snow. Just want to point that out. People really didn't like him.
Boring. He didn't do anything.
I've always liked Jon, but
he just needed the right push out there. Okay, so we'll go ahead and move on to the final storyline, which is we're going to go into a new city, Volantis, where Tyrion and Varys finally leave their box and go for a walk. And
where did they end up?
In a brothel, because it's Tyrion and Varys. Where else are they going to end up at?
I don't know. Varys doesn't have much use for one, if I remember correctly.
Oh, yeah. Tyrion. But we've seen him in brothels before. Something interesting I want to point out. Two things I want to point out. Before they go to the brothel, though, they're walking on the streets of Volantis, and they run into another Red Priestess, kind of the same status as a Melisandre, preaching the gospel on the corner, so to speak, of the Lord of Light. And I want to point out that they straight up call Daenerys their savior. Straight up. She's basically the Jesus of the Lord of Light, right?
We talked about this last year, that she made the most sense to be some sort of like religious figure to them because she cannot be burned by fire. Like they'll immediately connect with that. And
Which is weird, though, because
if she's smart, she will use that.
Well, she's not even aware of it, though.
That's what I was gonna say. It's weird because Melisandre hasn't even mentioned her at all. Like,
Melisandre might not know about her because Melisandre's over in Westeros.
That's the thing, though, is like if she's the savior of this religion, shouldn't Melisandre know about the savior of her religion?
Well, it's a recent development. Melisandre, as far as we've known, has been in Westeros the entire time Daenerys has been rising to power, and she's all about Stannis being the savior.
It's interesting.
So someone's wrong.
Tyrion knows about it. Tyrion knows about that. They believe that she is that, and Tyrion's heading to Daenerys. He's on his way there.
Yep. And he's like, oh, we're heading towards the savior.
Until something crazy happens.
Hold on. One other point I just want to point out, and I'm curious about it. They go out of the way to mention the grayscale. I don't know what the significance of this grayscale constant mentioning is, but I somehow it's going to play a role relatively soon.
I wonder if it comes up and Marine breaks out with an outbreak. That would be an interesting kind of problem for Daenerys to deal with.
Yeah.
Or King's Landing.
Yeah. Well, I was like, what happened if that goes in King's Landing?
Like a massive plague, basically.
Grayscale everywhere. I mean, they got to. They've alluded to it only a little bit before this season, but like this season, 2 episodes in a row, even getting a mention, just kind of like Inceptionist with this, right? Oh, hey, it's around. But okay. But yes, as you were saying, they were on their way to see Daenerys until Tyrion,
They saw her. They saw Daenerys.
They saw Daenerys in the brothel. In the brothel. And apparently so did Jorah Mormont.
Look, Emilia Clarke might have signed a new contract, so they just found body doubles, basically. And they're like, we're just going to stick them in the show.
Yeah, we'll bet her stunt double. They'll just strip her nude, right? Yes, very, very interesting, I have to say. Turn of events. So we got to see the return of Jorah. He's back.
Yeah.
And he's taking...
tortured man.
He is... I feel so bad for the guy. He's eternally friend zoned, fighting for this woman, and then she kicks him out of his kingdom, and now he's just trying to find some way to get redemption. So, and on that note, who is he taking Tyrion to see?
He says the queen, and I immediately thought Cersei, but then 5 seconds later, my common sense came in, and I thought, oh, the only person he considers the queen is Daenerys, and he's trying to regain her favor because he loves her. And so he's going to take
bring
Tyrion
her
to
Lannister.
her. Yep. And it makes perfect sense. And that's exactly what he's going to do. He's going to try to regain her favor through that. It'll be interesting to see if she accepts that, if she brings him back into the fold. I have a feeling she won't.
I feel like don't you feel like if he showed up, she would like kill him instantly?
Who, Jorah?
Yeah.
No, not if she brings him Tyrion, but she probably would resend him away, I guess.
I don't know. I don't know how that dynamic would work. I mean, I feel like he's really stretching to finally get some redemption here.
It's just weird because that's where Tyrion was headed that way anyway.
Right.
So So it's going to be interesting how maybe their dynamic will change or whatever because he won't just be showing up there now. He'd be showing up tied up and a prisoner now.
It's true. Before he would show up and was trying to offer her some help and like learn about her. Now he's like delivered to her and the whole.
And he'll say he can't say, "Oh, I offer you my help," because then it just sounds like you're just trying to get out of me killing you because you're the prisoner.
Yeah, representation here's a big thing. He shows up with Varys, who is a known, at least is a supporter, who would present Tyrion in such a light, versus Jorah. Hey, I brought you the frickin' Tyrion Lannister, one of the Lannisters, one of the usurpers. Basically, have at him. Big difference there. So obviously, anything Tyrion says at that point is to talk his way out of getting killed.
Right. Instead of before, when everything he would have said would have been could convince her to accept his kindness, of wanting to help.
Right. So as per Game of Thrones, you have people struggling to do the right thing, or struggling to survive, and they conflict. So Tyrion trying to help versus Jorah trying to regain favor could end up bad for Tyrion, and ultimately make the world a worse place. But I'm like, I don't blame Jorah. I feel bad for the guy. He just can't get a break. It's really funny in the books, like when you read that, I'm taking you to the queen, you don't know it's Jorah who's saying it because Tyrion doesn't recognize Jorah. Whereas in the show, And you're like, oh crap, someone got him and is taken back to Circe. Where in the show, you would know. I mean, like Austin said.
That's true. It kind of kills some of the surprise, basically. Because if I was reading that, and I didn't know it was Jorah. I don't know if Tyrion's probably a point of view character in the book.
Oh yeah.
So you just hear, "I'm going to take you to the Queen." You're like, he's screwed. He's going back to Westeros.
Yeah.
He's going to get delivered to Qyburn, and Qyburn's going to splice him with Gregor Clegane, and it's going to be awful.
It's going to be awful. Yeah, I don't think you actually figure out. I don't think you find out it's him who's taking him for a little while, actually. So, yeah, it's kind of interesting. That's a trick that George R. R. Martin uses to his advantage, which I think is really, really cool. Like, there are times characters interact with each other. They don't know they're interacting with each other. Yeah. It's kind of fun.
That's the difference with the different mediums. It kind of really changes some of that stuff.
It's not necessarily better or worse. It's just different. Because now it's
I would argue that the lack of surprise probably makes that worse in this specific scenario.
Right.
But there's lots of other things where the show's better, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, they did the same thing with Sir Barristan. Like when Sir Barristan showed up with Daenerys.
Yeah.
She didn't know who he was.
For like an entire book. He was like around for a while.
The whole book, you didn't know it was him because he was just like this old man who offered his help. And so you just thought there was this old man help. And then at the end of the book, he says, "Oh, by the way, I used to be in Westeros. I am this person." And you're like, "Oh my, what?" And like, so.
Versus the show, he shows up and you can't like not tell. You know, I mean, you can't not tell who he is. So tell him who he is. So yeah, interesting comparison with the mediums there. But ultimately, I think it makes for a fun conversation between a non-snobbish. Fun, non-snobbish book to show watcher conversation, book reader to show watcher conversation to have. Really, really good stuff. But yeah, great episode. The wheels are turning. It's going somewhere. It feels like we're starting to really head in a pretty definitive direction here for all these storylines. I'm really excited. And noticeably absent, again, as I mentioned earlier, was no Daenerys and also no Jaime, who is on his super secret lethal weapon adventure with Bronn to Westeros. Now, before we go ahead and prehash next week's episodes of Sons of the Harpy, I do want to point out we got a little bit of feedback on the Twitters this week from former guest host Dalton Stewart. He said, Bronn is clearly the one who is too old for this shit. So apparently he does not agree with our opinion that Jaime is the one who's too old. To his defense, though, they're both pretty old guys, and Bronn really wants to get out. He looks like he's about done, but he's getting drugged back in.
Dalton Stewart, by the way, hosts a fantastic podcast called the Good Trash Genre Cast, covering all kinds of great movies. Great conversation. You guys should check it out.
Oh, yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, we're big fans of the Good Trash Genre Cast here on Cast Beyond the Wall. That was this week's episode. Hi, Sparrow. Listeners out there, what did you think? There's a couple different ways you can let us know what you thought of the episode High Sparrow and what you thought about our conversation about High Sparrow. You know where the first place you can check us out at? You can find us on WeGotThisCovered.com, where of course you're probably listening to this lovely podcast. Go through, check out the page, and kind of listen to us there. Leave a comment in the comment section. We'll totally read it on the air. The next place you can feel free to continue to talk with us will be on the Facebook at facebook.com/castbeyondthewall. Give us a like. The Facebook. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot to drop the.
You sound like you're 80.
Oh.
Get on the Facebook.
Right. But yes, you can go there. You can like us and feel free to leave a comment down there. Let us know what you thought of this week's episode. We will read your responses on air. And last but not least, as you can also follow in the footsteps of Dalton Stewart and tweet us at cast_beyond_GOT. All right, guys, that was a fun discussion, but now I think it's time to go ahead and review next week's episode, The Sons of the Harpy.
All men must die, but not all can die in glory.
You must choose Doran's way and peace, or my way and war.
Give the order, and we'll clear out this rabble.
What would you say if I told you of a great sinner in our very midst?
May the Father judge him justly.
So next week's episode, the lovely, this in-depth synopsis gives us the insight of what's going down. Marjorie seeks prudent counsel. Jaime struggles in foreign lands. Dany answers the Harpy's call. Mind-blowing, guys. That's total. I feel like they spoiled the entire episode right there.
I mean, so Jaime and Dorne.
Yeah.
Which is awesome.
Yeah.
Danny is probably going to cause a lot of problems.
Yep. She's going to get herself in hot water.
Who would Marjorie seek counsel with?
Oh, Elena.
You guys have any ideas?
Elena, come on. Elena.
Yeah, I thought she left.
Her grandma. Yeah, she left to listen to Raven and be like, come back to King's Landing. And if we learned anything on this week's episode of Game of Thrones, it's that we don't need real time. Seriously, in one scene says, "Hey, send Littlefinger Raven," and then the very next scene he gets the Raven that apparently had time to go all the way to the Eyrie and then to Winterfell. So
what do you think? Well, maybe Marjorie seeks counsel with Littlefinger as well, and they're both trying to work with Littlefinger, and Littlefinger's playing both sides. Ooh, that would be nice.
That would be good. Go to Littlefinger.
I hate Littlefinger. I hope he dies.
No, dude, Littlefinger's so good. He deserves to win more than anyone else. He's such an evil person.
The worst.
He's pretty evil.
The worst.
No, he's pretty evil. You want to know why? Because he doesn't care about anybody. Except for maybe Sansa, a little bit.
Guys, I miss Bran.
Bran? You feeling a Bran? Is there a Bran-shaped hole in your heart this season, Austin? He's just kind of creeping in there. There's no Hodor.
It's a little crippled hole in my heart. I don't like it.
I have a much bigger hole in my heart. It's Hodor-shaped. I just need to hear. I just want to hear the voice. Hodor. Yeah, come on. It's sad. There's a lack of Bran and Hodor, and unfortunately, I do believe they're not going to be back at all this season.
I know.
And they left us on such a cliffhanger. How dare they? Maybe we can catch up with the Sand Snakes, who what's her name alluded to last week. They said, "Oh, the Sand Snake's going to back them." I'm very excited. Actually, let me
I'm hoping they're as awesome as the Faceless Men.
The awesome Sand Snakes is awesome. They're going to be like a troop of sexy warrior princesses, man. It's
like 3 female Oberons. It's going to be fantastic.
That'd be amazing. Oh, gosh, it's going to be great. Yeah, so hopefully we see them next week. I hope that's not one of those they keep talking about them and they show up like halfway through the season. I want to see them early on. I want to see them come up and see exactly what Jaime's plan is, if he's even really got one. That'll be fun. As far as Marjorie goes, I think she's probably going to call Raven for Elena or something like that. She even mentioned her in this episode.
It must be.
I mean, who else? We haven't seen her really talk to anyone else, really. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Cast Beyond the Wall. One last thing I want to mention is if you do like us, please go to iTunes and post your favorite. Go to iTunes, give us a 5-star rating. Don't give us a review. Write in your favorite character from Game of Thrones and why in the reviews. And if you do that, I'll read your review on air. Okay? No trolls. No trolling in the dungeon. All right? If you say Joffrey, that's a troll. Okay?
Huh? Give us a 1-star rating if you really, really hate us. Okay. Keep listening because, we need them downloads.
We need the downloads. Hate. Instead of, like some people hate watch movies, hate listen to us. Be like, oh, God, these guys are idiots. I'm going to make fun of them the whole time while I listen to them talk.
Yeah, do that.
Yeah. I think that's a good deal. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll catch you all next week. Could do Bane impressions all day long, man. All day long.
That's what the show needs is some Tom Hardy.
That does. The Tom Hardy. That's what Game of Thrones needs. Tom Hardy. He's British. He could come in.
Tom Hardy should have been Dario.
Dude. Wouldn't that be epic? Tom Hardy is Dario. When this series is rebooted in like 25 years, because it's Hollywood and it will be rebooted somehow, Tom Hardy. He'll be older, but he'll still have the sexy factor. So
male and female audience alike.
Exactly. Dudes want to be him, but they don't want to be him like in an envious way. They're just like but he's also likable if the dudes like him too. They want to be him, but they like him. And then of course, ladies, it's freaking Tom Hardy. I mean, come on,
guys, it's freaking Tom Hardy.
Oh my goodness! You'd go gay for Tom Hardy?
Sure, why not?
Okay, gotcha. All right, cool deal. I mean, I'd just have to talk to Ryan Gosling first to see if it's okay for me to go gay for Tom Hardy. But
I'll return my texts.
Dang it, Tom.